Hello lovely people, welcome to the first of the monthly book chats. So if you follow me on social media, you'll know I've decided to stop doing the Friday book chats. If you follow my blog, you may have noticed the Friday book chats aren't happening. That's also possible. So this is the first of them. Obviously I should be talking about the books I read in May because this is going out at the start of June, but because we're actually moving at the start of June, so I would have no books and no bookshelves and nowhere to sit, I decided it was probably better to film it now before I start putting everything in boxes. So yes, the challenge is going to be if I can remember the books I read every month. So that'll be a good exercise for me. I might have to start making lists or using Goodreads or something. I started doing the Goodreads bookshelf thing at the start of the year, and I think I put 2 books on it and then stopped. So I'm really rubbish at that sort of thing. So we'll see how this goes anyway. Anyhow, this is books from March as well as April. It's probably not all the books I've read because I've sort of been on and off planes a lot, which means I read a lot. Because basically as soon as I start queuing anywhere, I start reading. And so that might be at the check-in desk for a longer flight or going through security if the queue's long or whatever. And I don't really stop till I get off the other end. So I do a lot of really good reading on planes. So I think I've lost track a bit between March and April of what I actually read, but I'm going to talk about a few of them. So let's get started. I read quite a few middle grade books. I find when I'm writing particularly and my head's kind of busy, they're really good, or also if I've read something a bit heavy and I need... it's almost like a little refresher of the brain. My brain gets to rest a little bit through the reading. I love reading middle grade books. I love them anyway because they're always fun. They're always full of humour and adventure. And while they can still tackle quite a lot of serious issues, they are also fun. And fun's big. I like fun. Okay, so the first of these, How to Be a Pirate. And this is probably the most fun book I read all month. It was absolutely fantastic. If you haven't read How to Train Your Dragon, it's really well worth the read. It's a completely different story to the book, to the movie even, and I love both versions. I have to say that Toothless in this is completely different, or in How to Train Your Dragon, but he's in this as well, but still completely wonderful. They're great characters. How to Be a Pirate then? Yes, lots of adventure, pirates, treasure, fart jokes. It's proper middle grade fun, and I thought that was wonderful. So if you do enjoy kind of the younger end of middle grade, these books are fantastic. So, How to Be a Pirate. Moving on then, Clive Barker, The Thief of Always. And I love that cover. It's just really pretty and really simple. And yeah, really good book. When I was in my teens, I read a load of Clive Barker, but I don't think I've really reread any of his since probably my 20s. But I loved how immersive his language was, that it was always really captivating worlds, really inventive, really imaginative. And this is no different. Okay, so it is middle grade, it's not quite as gruesome, there's not as much wild sex. But it is a great story about young Harvey Swick? Yes, young Harvey Swick, who is essentially bored with life. He's bored of school, he's bored with his parents, he's bored with his town, the whole lot. And this mysterious man offers him the chance to go somewhere exciting. And so he says yes, as you do. And he winds up in this house where every day all the seasons pass. So you get to enjoy your summer afternoons, and then you have Halloween, and then you've got Christmas, and so you're having these parties all the time, and every day is just amazing, and it's like your perfect spring, your perfect summer, everything's perfect. And he even calls his parents and they say, no, you stay there, it's fine. But eventually he starts to realize things aren't maybe quite what they seem. And see, he ends up investigating, and it's essentially how he's going to get away from this house, which gets creepier and creepier as it goes along. And it's excellent. Very, very good. Good read, well written, good characters, and yeah, great concept. I really liked it. So, Thief of Always, Clive Barker. Moving up a little bit, more toward getting towards young adult now. So, Miss Peregrines Home for Peculiar Children. And as always, I am years late in getting around to reading this, and I'm very disappointed because I have the movie cover. But having said that, it's a very good cover for a movie cover, and it has Eva Green on it, and I love Eva Green, so that's okay, we'll forgive it. It's not the best book I read this month. It was good. The concept, while not necessarily, hugely innovative. The way it was treated was the characters were good, they were engaging. The only thing that really kind of, I felt it created a distance between me as the reader and the book, was that although the narrator is sort of 15 or 16, the way he speaks is very much like someone much, much older. And it's almost overly formal, some of the language. And to me, that lost a certain amount of immediacy. So although it was good, and I reckon I'll definitely pick up the next book, I didn't sort of finish it and went, I need the next book right now, sort of thing. It'll be an interesting book to come back to, an interesting series to come back to. And it was well written, other than, like I say, there was just this certain lack of urgency. So yeah, Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. I'm going to have to start doing a star system or something, aren't I? What would I give that? 3.5 to 4, something like that. Yeah. I'll work it out. I'll do a cookie system or something. That'll make more sense. All right. So my non-fiction book of the month. That makes it sound like I read a non-fiction book every month. I don't. I do read the odd non-fiction. I tend to read more science books. I will read a couple of self-help books a year, normally relating to writing. This one isn't. This one, or not directly. This one is The Holy Shit Moment by James Fell. Yeah. If you follow James Fell on his blog or Facebook or anything like that, he's a fitness writer, and he's very engaging and entertaining. Everything is very science-based. He's a really good fitness writer, and he tackles more than that. He tackles various social issues. He talks about feminism, he talks about the Me Too movement, he talks about body positivity, and in quite a balanced way, I think. So I quite enjoy following him, especially as someone who used to be in the fitness industry, and one of the reasons I really didn't enjoy it was because I found it to be a very unhealthy environment. There was far too much emphasis on appearances and quick results and all that sort of thing. And he's very much against all of those quick fixes, and not against them, but he believes in doing things in a healthy and gradual way, which I think's obviously the best way to do it. But anyway, this book, in a weird way, it kind of is about a quick fix, because what it talks about is you have those moments in life where you make a decision and it's not a struggle. It just works, and that can change your life. Whether it's about losing weight or quitting smoking or changing your life, choosing a new career path, we have these little epiphanies. And the whole book is about creating these epiphanies. And coming to it from a writing point of view, it's actually quite interesting, because you can sort of transfer that across and sort of go, okay, well, how about creating inspiration? How about when you're looking for that story idea and it's not coming, can you create the environment where it does come? So I sort of read it in that sort of aspect, but the whole thing was very, very interesting. It references a lot of other books. He's obviously read a lot and researched a lot and interviewed a lot of people to do this book. And I'm sure if you wanted to read more, you could go out and read all of those. But the nice thing for me is there were a lot of concepts that were all pulled into one place. So things like allowing yourself to have time to be bored so that your mind does its own little thing. And yeah, it was an interesting read. Obviously, I have my post-it notes out, which is always a sign that I've been finding interesting things. And this is just at the start. If you're guilty of beating yourself up, it's time to ditch the self-loathing and accept yourself for your faults and your capabilities. Use your newfound self-respect as part of the process to energize your desire to find the best way forward for you. Accept your humanity and that all humans are flawed. Being a perfectionist gets in the way of self-compassion. There will be detailed steps later, but for now, endeavour to ditch shame and guilt, and in so doing, try to better understand yourself. Take some time to analyse what makes you unique. What are your strengths? Where do your capabilities lie? What could you accomplish if you were truly determined? Why would you be able to accomplish these goals? What is it that you bring to the equation that makes these goals attainable? Focusing on your qualities and your potential, imagine what your post-epiphany journal might look like. You need to know yourself better, because there is no cookie-cutter approach to creating an optimal life outcome. It is unique to you. So it's quite nice. It's not overly technical. It's fairly easy reading. There's quite a few bad jokes, which always helps for me. And yeah, it's quite straightforward. There's some really good case studies and that sort of thing. So quite interesting, whether you're coming at it from a reader's point of view or just a general life point of view where maybe you want to change some things. I would probably read a couple of his blogs first and just make sure you like his style. That's the only thing I'd say. All right, diving into the Kindle. I'm not going to do too many more, simply because this is turning into a very long video. Okay, so favourite one that I read on my Kindle this month was... Can't open it, won't open. Anyway, you may remember that I was talking about Dan's, a few videos ago, I talked about Dan Simmons' Abominable. Dan Simmons' Abominable, not the Abdominal Snowman. That would have been from the previous book. Dan Simmons' Abominable, and I mentioned that I did want to read more historical fiction after that, because the fiction side of it meant that I took the history in a lot better than I did from reading non-fiction books. So, Ken Follett, Fall of Giants, as recommended by my dad. Thoroughly enjoyed it. What an interesting story. I mean, it takes in... Essentially, it spans over the breaking out of the First World War through to the end of the First World War. It doesn't concentrate so much on the politics of it. It's more following the interlinked lives of various people. So, say Billy, who'd been working down the coal mine since his, I think it was 13th birthday. His sister, and he then ends up being sent to the front line. His sister, who was working for the Earl, who owned the land that the coal mine was on. The Earl, who also went to the front line but as an officer. And his friend, who was actually, turns out he's a German spy. And so all these sort of interlinked lives and how they all experience the war from different perspectives. And not just on the front line, but also in the UK, in Germany, in America. So there's all these different points of view. And it was really interesting. It touched on things like the suffragette movement. It did touch on a little bit of politics. I found it a really, really interesting read, and I'll definitely continue reading these ones. And this was probably my favourite read of the month. So yeah, I would definitely recommend, if you haven't read any of his. It is a really long book, be warned. Handy to have it in Kindle where you don't have to hold it up in bed or anything like that. Let's do one more from the Kindle, because this is one that... has been on Netflix. I haven't seen the film. My partner says it's really good. Pretty ambivalent towards the story, to be honest. It was interesting enough to keep me reading because I wanted to know what happened at the end. I was disappointed by what happened at the end because it felt like a little bit of a cop-out. I was sort of like, oh, really? That's it? That's where you're going to end it. So, yeah, it was one where I didn't feel much connection to the characters, maybe because the point of view of the woman whose point of view it is, she's hugely traumatized, obviously, by what she's been through. Maybe because she didn't really connect to any of the other characters in the book, you don't connect to them either. But I didn't really care that much about her either. So yeah, well written, but yeah, not really. It certainly wasn't that scary to me because I was never that worried about the characters because I wasn't that bothered. The concept of it, yes, that was very interesting. I did like that. And I liked the fact that it wasn't over-explained. So there were definitely aspects of it that I enjoyed, but not my favourite read of the month. So, okay, I'm going to leave the others because there was only a couple more and none of them were particularly standouts. So, favourite fiction read of the month would have been Dan Follett's Fall of Giants. Favourite non-fiction... Well, there was only one, so it has to be that one. And yeah, so let me know below, what were you reading last month or a month, whichever one you want to choose, whether it's May or April. What were your favourite books of the month? Have you read any of these? Have you enjoyed them or not enjoyed them? And what do you think of the new format? Am I trying to talk about too many books at once? So should I just pick a couple that I particularly enjoyed and talk about those? Or is the overview good? And let me know, and we'll talk to you next time. Thanks so much.